Cole, how you doing tonight, Lisa?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Just trying to stay warm in here in Philadelphia. I know that you have some time here stateside. We really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're now head coach of Antigua and Barbuda. Let's kind of rewind and how that all got started, because that got started earlier this year. And what was the process like that, just becoming head coach there?
Yeah, I mean, I was out in France at the World Cup, and you always end up making some connections, and through the work that I did with Papua New Guinea and stuff, so a couple people were, asking about somebody that potentially could help them grow what's happening in Antigua, not only somebody that's coached at a high level and understands what it takes to help senior women's team, but also somebody that maybe could have a developmental background, because they need to create a league and they need to create grassroots soccer, and they need to do a lot of things so that they can create a program within women's football that will have success long term.
Yeah,
so
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, so people kept asking around about somebody that could do that, and my name kept coming up. So they got a hold of me, and the rest is history.
No, I mean, John and I have both been on the Caribbean. We've done some work with Turks and Caicos national team, so it's one of those very, I think, similar like demographics and just small countries, so that there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, and we've seen you out there, doing a lot of work. So it's a lot of it is we've seen in the Caribbean. It's the grassroots, developing the game for the young girls and getting them into the game and just slowly educating the population too.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about culture change, because even within their government or within their sports ministry, it's hard for a country that's that small to see the benefits of investing in sports sometimes, because they're not going to go win Olympic gold medals. They have 9 athletes compete in Rio. So it's not about like big time success, but what are the value of sport? Think of everything that sport teaches you. So you create better citizens if you have them involved and healthy in sport or activities. So it's changing culture about, like, it's not about winning. It's not about going out and doing something remarkable. It's about just getting started and getting active in sport and teaching these kids to be responsible, show up on time. All these things are then going to lead to success, whatever they choose to do. And then hopefully, if you do that well, then you'll find some success along the way as well.
Now, when you go on the field and you start working with these young women, what are some of the goals that you've set for them as a program? Because it is like small steps at a time. Like you said, you're not suddenly going to be qualifying for the World Cup, so you have to set realistic goals.
Yeah, I think so I came in August, and I've had an opportunity to see the U14s, the 17s, obviously coach the senior team in their Olympic qualifying. And the thing for me was to just see where we are first, like get a benchmark for where are we today and where do we need to get to. And so for me, the last couple months have been about just getting kids on the field, like used to training, because they haven't done that. Like they'll wait until a month before an event and then be like, oh, let's get a group of players together and let's go to Olympic qualifying. I don't know any, like, that's not that's normal within the Caribbean, and it shouldn't be, because you're putting the athletes in a place where they're not really prepared to even compete, let alone find success. So that's the first thing, is to say, wait a second, we need to find a way for players to be consistently playing, for them to be healthy. So that means figuring out nutrition, sleep cycles, all those type of things, and making sure they have the equipment and things that they need so they can be safe on the field. So it's a lot of things all that you're trying to put together all at once. But for me, the major goal right now at this point is to develop their grassroots program and to create a league where players can be consistently playing and developing in.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. We've seen the Caribbean is just having their own little, inter-country type of leagues, and being out there and just participating, just even like you said, just playing pickup soccer, just something they're doing with their friends at their school, that they're out there on a consistent basis and getting their touches in, because with these youth players that are going to school, they have jobs. You really don't have the luxury of having them like a national team or club teams where you have them for so many hours a week.
Yeah, I mean, Olympic qualifying, we didn't even go into a camp because players had to work, and we didn't have the money to pay them not to work. So what you can't say, hey, I'm going to take food off your table because I need you to train every day. No, so we kind of had to compromise, train in the evenings, training on half a field because the men's team is also training. There's only one lit field. So imagine trying to get ready for Olympic qualifying. You're like, okay, we want to train the counterattack. Okay, you got half a field.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not like some of the limitations that are there really obstacles for them finding success.
Now, what's some of the local support been like? I'm sure you've been having conversations, meeting people there, and I know I've read that you're working on getting some staff, some local staff. What's that been like, the feedback you're getting from the locals?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think overall their attitude is very negative towards the game at the moment. Again, because I think the way they frame success isn't correct. Like, they're looking for wins or looking for opportunities, and they don't understand the journey or the process that it takes. So for me, I'm doing like what I'm calling a little bit of a re-education about what the value of sport is and why it's important, and that really we shouldn't be judging the players based on success. We should be judging the players based on how we play, how we compete. Are we working as hard as we can, and just reframing what we consider success. Like a small country like Antigua and Barbuda, you're not going to go out on the field and win without investment. And so if you don't invest, you can't expect them to have success.
Yeah.
So it's about going back and asking for the investment and then seeing what we can do from there.
Now, what would you say some of your biggest needs are? Like you said, I guess just fields and equipment, or is that probably one of your things if you had like a wish list of things?
Yeah, I think, well, FIFA has, they're in the middle of a project, finishing up a project there where if they finish the project, there'll be 2 turf fields with lights there, which will be great. So the men's program can schedule their field, and hopefully the women's program can schedule their field. I think that will really help because we have the referees running around training. We have the men's team there training. We have the women's team there training. We have a side club trying to get a little space on the field on one turf field. It just doesn't work. Like, in the grand scheme of things, you really need to have ownership of at least a field as a starting point. And then for me, it's little things like we were lucky enough to have the sports bra project, like donate 40 sports bras so that we're putting women in the appropriate gear to go and run around for 90 minutes. A bunch of people have donated shin guards, which is we're usually trading shin guards. Long socks has been an issue. Like, they come to training, they only have little short socks, so getting socks there. So it's funny, and goalkeeper gloves and little things that are, that aren't necessarily mandatory. Like, you can play without goalkeeper gloves, but it makes a big difference if you have gloves on, I think, how you're able to handle the ball and stuff. So we have some challenges, and we also don't necessarily schedule or use our resources as well as we could if we were organized and laid out a plan ahead of time, I think. So those are the things we need to work on.
Yeah,
and coaches, obviously coaches.
Yeah, I think it's just getting the education of the people and getting you the equipment and stuff like that, because, I think that it hits home when you and I are here coaching kids in the United States, and, I have my couple players that show up with new pairs of boots every 2 weeks. And it's that I don't think these kids really realize how easy they have it in the States. And then in my travels in the Caribbean, they can't just go buy cleats because there's no store for them, and the mail system's not reliable. So you can't just go mail them cleats. When John and I have done some deliveries to the Caribbean, you have to physically take them to them.
Yeah, like literally, we were good enough to get some stuff donated, and we had to fly. We got the stuff to Miami. Then we had somebody fly to Miami, pick up all the bags of stuff, and then fly back to Antigua because that's cheaper.
Yep.
Buying a flight, staying overnight, and coming back with extra bags, even with the baggage fees, is cheaper than flying something or mailing something to Antigua. Because, again, mailing something to an island is very expensive.
Yeah, and you have to deal with customs and all that. That was some issues that we ran into, is just, having to get, official documented letters that, this gear is for these young women. I'm not here to sell these on the island.
Yeah, and that is a problem, is a lot of people try to bring stuff in and then try to sell it, and so they are very aware of that. But, yeah, so it's taken a lot. Like, every time I come in fact, I have 3 bags. I go back on Tuesday, and I have 3 bags of socks and shin guards and gloves. West Coast just donated 30 gloves to us. So, like, I have all this gear, but how do I get it to them now is almost even more expensive than actually getting the equipment.
Yeah, I think that we can definitely help spread the word, because there's a lot of people out there, and if just finding the people that go on tour and go on vacation there, because it's got a big tourist industry. So I think it's just educating people that go to these countries that, hey, you're going there enjoying a beautiful beach and one of the most beautiful places in the world, but this is what the local people need. They don't just need to be supported on the tourism side. They have lives and they have dreams and goals that, that aren't just revolved around working in the tourist industry.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, that's the big thing, right, is them recognizing that.
Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.